On July 5th, I think, I'll be 34 years old as a physician. 33 years old as a physician because I graduated July 5th, 1991 from medical school. So I retired 4 years ago from active duty medicine. And today, tomorrow, whatever, I do a lot of education. And one of the things I help physicians understand is you have to reconcile your own morals with your ethics because you took an oath to first do no harm. Or what I like to say, first do no further harm. Because a lot of LGBT plus people have been traumatized and betrayed by the healthcare organization. So there's very little trust of the healthcare system by the queer community. We've got to get up and live out our lives. We're rediscovering where passions lie. Unveiling dreams that were hidden inside. With scrubs unzipped, we now will decide. We've got to get up and live out our lives. We're rediscovering where passions lie. Unveiling dreams that were hidden inside. With scrubs unzipped, we now will decide.
Hello and welcome to Scrubs Unzipped. Today I'm your host, Anne Marie, and I have a very special guest. Her name is Dr. Lulu. Welcome, Dr. Lulu. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Anne?
I am
What are you,
awesome.
Anne? Anne Marie. Do you go by Anne Marie, the full name?
I go by Anne Marie.
Yeah. How are you, Anne Marie?
I am awesome. How are you?
You've been awesome. So excited. So grateful. I can't
Awesome.
complain.
Well, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself before we get started?
So I'm a mom of three. I'm a pediatrician. I'm an immigrant. I'm an agitator. I am a life coach. I work with LGBTQ plus parents, and I help organizations support LGBTQ plus parents. And I'm a physician, so I also help support the LGBT plus patients. Otherwise, I'm just young, free, and single, and living my life like it's golden. I'm looking forward to my 56th birthday in
And
a
I
few
was
months.
at your 55th birthday and it was so
Yes.
much fun. I'm so glad that you
The next one is
invited
going to
me.
be even better because
Awesome.
hopefully I will have found my own place, like my own condo, townhouse, or something like that. And yeah, so we'll see. Yeah.
Awesome. So how did you get started in doing the LGBTQ plus, like being an advocate? Like how did you get started in that?
Well, my I am bisexual, but like many parents, even if we experience something, we don't really become activists or start speaking up unless it happens to our kids. So I have always known I'm bisexual. Never been a problem. One of the things that we do as bisexual women or bisexual people is we can easily hide as heterosexuals. So I was married to my ex-husband and we're just living a heterosexual life for all intents and purposes. And then my eldest was born. I was like, wait, I think this kid is gay, is what I said to myself then. So I told my mom and then I told my ex-husband and they were not having it. And like any mother, you start rooting for your child even before your child is born. And then if your child is born and there's any kind of question mark or comma or something else going on with the kid, you become an activist for that. And you may do it quietly at the beginning, but if people start bullying your child, then you increase the volume on it. So I didn't do too much until my kid was like a teenager. Then I started asking questions. And at that time, we had just gotten divorced with the ex-husband, and it was just me and them. And I just found myself being a single mom trying to raise three kids, and one of them is possibly gay. How do we navigate that world? And the best thing I could find to do was to ask the poor child to tone down their gayness because I was like, no, I don't want people to pick on you, people to hate on you. And that is that's pretty standard for most parents. We want to protect our kids. We don't want our kids to experience any kind of pain for something that they didn't ask for. And so, unfortunately, that was the wrong thing to do. Because as a parent, yes, you don't want your kids to suffer, but you also don't want to inadvertently punish your child by asking your child to be less than who they are. And that's what I was asking my kid to do. Fast forward to graduate at high school and going into college, my biggest revelation was my kid's essay. The essay that they wrote for college was pretty much talking about, being ostracized for being different. And right then I knew that this was not the right way for me to go, but I still didn't know which way to go. And we didn't talk much about it because when kids go off to college, they're in college. They're kind of sort of gone. So it didn't really come up much until the kid came home one time with their nails polished. That was a thing for me. I was like, okay, so about the polished nails, well, when your grandma comes, can you just not paint your nails? Can you just not do that? And unfortunately, again, at that time I was living with my ex-wife, and we were like, can you just not do that? That was the worst thing I could have said to the child because this was their own grandmother. I didn't allow the grandmother to make their decision on how they were going to react to the child. I made the decision for them. And then we had I think when my mom left, my ex-wife and I just kind of gave her a bunch of nail polish, give my child a bunch of, and we're like, okay, now you can paint your nails. So that kind of double is another thing that I was doing because in my mind I was trying to protect my child from my mother because I already judged my mother as homophobic, which she is, or she was. I mean, let's be honest. But I still didn't allow my mother to make the decision for herself. So a lot of times parents do that. And that happened. And then at graduation from Stanford, we now found out that at that time my child identified as non-binary. And then later on came out fully as transgender. And so over the time, I've had time to watch the way I was acting and then watch the way the child was reacting or responding. And I realized that that was not the best. So when I finally found out that my kid was transgender, I had to make a decision. But even at that, it was still very difficult for me to reconcile that my child was not going to be a full son that I wanted, I don't know, become an attorney or whatever they wanted to be. I had to go through that notion of, okay, this is my life now. And I had to decide, well, how do you want to live the life? Do you want to live it in fear, or do you want to live it as a liberated person and allow the child to be liberated, as they are? That was kind of the decision. But eventually I realized that I had to accept myself and my identity. And then I can affirm my child. So that was where the change and the pivot came the day I realized that I was struggling with my own identity as the mother of a transgender child. Not so much my identity as a bisexual woman, not so much my identity as a mom, but it was my identity as a mother of a transgender child. So it's a whole thing. And that is when I realized that that's what parents struggle with the most, their own identity as parents of queer kids. That is where the growth is. So I became an advocate and an activist because I realized I've always known that transgender people are under attack. They're being violated. They're being killed. They die by suicide. And they just, all of these things. And then this is my child. So I decided, well, I can be over here feeling sorry for myself, or I can do what I do best, which is talk about it and let people realize that, this is what the situation is. And if you come for my child, I'll come for you. But it wasn't a very like overnight. It took a while of me going into dark places, very dark places, and then asking myself the tough questions, am I making this about me? Is which is what my child said, Mom, it's not about you. I mean, it's very complicated. But as a black woman, as a black immigrant woman, as a black immigrant physician woman, as a black Catholic immigrant, all of those things were not taught to accept LGBTQ plus people, period. What more transgender people? So it's been an eye-opening experience for me. I'm grateful that it happened to me because like I usually say, if it doesn't happen to me, who is it going to happen to? Who should be the mother of a transgender child if not me? And so I'm happy now that I'm able to use my platform as a micro influencer to teach other people and to help them check their thoughts because it almost always goes down to what are your thoughts about it? What do you think about it? What are you saying to yourself about it? What are the words you're speaking to yourself about it? So that's kind of how I got where I am today.
So you mentioned they were non-binary or they were in the LGBT. Can you hear me? Okay. So you meant that that you had a feeling. So like can you describe like how did you have a feeling when they were born that they were going to be different?
So my child goes by she, they pronouns, so we can use she for all intents and purposes. That's
Okay.
one. And then number two, a mother always knows. I cannot tell you how I knew, but I knew. A mother literally always knows. If you ask 27 mothers, they will tell you that they have intuitions. They just have a feeling. And what you do is you just start praying to God that hopefully your feelings are wrong. So I knew when the baby was, I don't know, 9 or 10 months old. I just had a deep conviction. Where it came from, the only thing I can say is the universe puts it in your heart. Whether you accept it or not is another situation, but a mother always knows. That said, there are certain mannerisms that the child was displaying that I was like, yeah, I just think the child is probably gay. I mean, it's just certain mannerisms, but the bottom line is I knew when the child was at 9 months, I think probably. I was like, yeah, I just had a feeling about it. I couldn't tell you what it is. Today, in retrospect, maybe a little bit more effeminate, but at 9 months old, you don't even have effeminate. But I just knew, I knew it. And I told my mom at that age, the child was a baby, baby, baby. And as the baby grew, my suspicions were confirmed even before I asked the questions. And then unfortunately, she got bullied also just for being who she is. And the rest is history. But a mother always, if a mother tells you that they didn't know, that's a blatant lie. Mothers will tell you that they know. And it doesn't have to be about gay, just about whatever. Mothers know. They have a feeling about their kid. And that's just all I can tell you because I knew. I knew when the baby was 9 months old, which is a very young age. But I knew. I just tapped into it. Um, and that's it.
So what would you do different when and like in retrospect, what would you do differently in raising her to fully blossom?
I think what the first thing I'll do differently is not listen to my mother, not listen to my ex-husband, not listen to them and their own thoughts about the queer community because they are not LGBT. And one of the things I tell people is when somebody tells you something, you have to ask yourself, where did that when somebody tells you something, ask yourself, where did they get that information from? So 9 times out of 10, when people tell you something negative about the LGBT plus community, they usually got that information from someone who is not LGBT, or they got a thought from maybe their religion in the Black community or from their culture in the Black community. A lot of times people say things about the LGBT plus community because they're not LGBT plus, they don't even know, or because they are and they just cannot live with being LGBT. It's called internalized homophobia. So there are two schools of thoughts. One school of thought is people who just don't know any better, and they are too afraid to say they don't know, and they want to go with the flow. That's one school of thought. And maybe those people are not LGBT. The other school of thought are people who are very, very intensely homophobic, are LGBTQ plus themselves, and they are unable to live ethically. The way I know that is because that was me. So I'm speaking from lived experience here, not that somebody told me this. I have a sibling who, for all intents and purposes, is a lesbian. And I found out when she was much, much younger, and I was the loudest person denouncing that behavior. I was the loudest person saying, absolutely not. You cannot do that. Now, looking back, the first reason I did that was number one, I had already told my dad, and my dad told me it was a phase. I didn't bring that up, but I did that. And then the second thing is, I already knew that as Catholics, the Catholic Church frowns upon it. So, like many, many, many gay people, we try to pray to God to please take it away. We do. And gay is representing the community. I'm using that, or queer. You can use queer or you can use gay. In my case, in this case, I'm using gay. We use it to represent, I'm using it to represent the community. So we are always praying to God to please, we don't want to be gay. Many, many people pray to God to just take their life because they don't want to live as this, because it is frowned upon by society. So because we're praying to God on this one hand to please take it away, we don't want our siblings to be that, because it's a life of quote unquote punishment and being ostracized and being, looked down upon by people who don't know anything about you, who have already made up their minds about you. So the first thing I'll do differently is not listen to those people, because I listened to them and I believed them and I internalized it. And then I didn't like myself for that. I didn't like that part of me that was attracted to women, which I laughed about this with a friend just this morning, talking about how one of the reasons that African Americans, Black men especially, why they're very intensely homophobic is because they think that, oh, if they meet a lesbian, then right away the lesbian is attracted to them. Like, the truth is, what if you're not my type? Like, what if I'm attracted to short people and you're 6 feet tall? What if I'm attracted to tall people and you're 2 feet? I mean, the first thing is, I'm not going around looking for who to, like, literally I have bills, I have a life, I have kids. I'm not looking at the first woman I see. No. Just like heterosexual people are not walking down the road looking for the next person. I mean, maybe there are people like that, but they will have to speak for themselves, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times we have that fear that because he's gay, he's going to hit on me. No. What if you're not his type, right? What if he's already dating? What if he's fiercely monogamous like I am? What if I'm not even I'm not even in my dating zone right now? Maybe I don't want to date. Like, there's so many reasons why that fear of gay people, LGBT people, is rooted in nothing but either the patriarchy or misogyny or, religious, religious expectations, cultural expectations. As far as I'm concerned, religion for the Black community is a tight noose around our necks. So the second thing I would do differently is not listen to the Catholic Church doesn't like it or whatever, none of that. Because I did not create myself. I did not make myself gay as much as you, whoever you are out there, made yourself straight. Like, literally, I did not go asking, okay, God, I'll like gay with a side of fries. No. So nobody does that. And as a result, the second thing I'll do differently is not listen to the religious expectation. The third thing I'll do differently is not listen to cultural and societal expectations. So that's three people now: my parent, my mother, and my ex-husband, religion, and society, right? And then the fourth thing I'll do differently is check myself, which really should be the first thing. Check my own self and my own thoughts about the queer community, which is the first thing I tell my clients to do. What are your thoughts and what are your belief systems about the queer community? That's the first thing. And where did that come from? And then, is it true? So my thoughts about the queer community was like, it is bad. Where did it come from? from society, from my parents, right? Is it true? No. And then I will have been a better mother for the child from the jump. I will have been a better advocate for the child from the jump. And by being a better advocate for the child, I would have been a better advocate for all LGBT plus people, and including my. So for me, I've gotten past those things I could have done differently. Now I want to help people not make the same mistakes. Because they say smart people learn from their mistakes, but smarter people learn from other people's mistakes. So I would have done those 5 things differently so that I can be the better parent, the best parent that my child needed at that time.
Wow, you mentioned a lot, and I know that people have misconceived notions about religion because sometimes religion can be used to manipulate other people, and sometimes it doesn't come actually from the source. So, how did you reconcile that relationship between religion and actually having a personal relationship with God or the source or
So I'm not
whoever?
religious today.
Not
Actually, I
religious.
say fuck religion and twice on Sunday. I'm not. It's man-made. It's 110% man-made. The
Mhm.
white Jesus concept is definitely man-made. So I'm no longer religious. I don't go to church anymore. And that I decided to do that the day I turned 50. I literally ran out of fucks to give. I stayed for the first 50 years and watched it, and I knew you have to pick your battles. And that's just a battle that I don't want to fight. I don't care about it anymore. Now, that said, my children left the Catholic Church way before I did. They were like, Mom, we're out. I was like, what? They were like, we're out. When each one turned 18, when the eldest one turned 18, she was like, peace out. She used to play piano and flute in the church choir. She was like, I gone. Then the middle one turned 18, was like, Mom, see you later. The baby was 16 and he was like, Mom, I am out. I was like, wait, what? They're like, no, Mama, you go to church, because it just didn't work out. In the church, I remember there was one day my baby was about maybe 8 or 9, and he cried home from church because he said the man who sat next to him at church would not do the peace of the Lord be with you, which is one of the things that we do in Catholic Church. He's a white man, and he would not do it to a black 7, 8-year-old boy. So from then, the poor little boy was already traumatized, and he was just waiting for his chance, right? He was just like, let me see, I can't wait. And he was like, I'm bouncing. I was like, he said, no, Mom, I'm done. So I do not go to church anymore. I mean, if my friend is getting married, of course I'm going to go to church. I mean, I'm not going to not go. I mean, if that's where the ceremony is taking place, of course I'll go. But I'm not going to go out of my way to go to church anymore, because now I realize that it's human beings who are fallible that are in church. That said, I have total trust in the fact that there's a God or the universe, or there's a source. There's something bigger than me. I'm not an atheist. I just give thanks to God today because I did a closing of my house and I made a post on social media. So I definitely am not against God. I'm against the people that call God every day, because they are usually the worst ones. And this is known, tried and true. Religion, church, Muslim, whatever, these things are basically cults. And a cult is a group of people who have the same belief system, right? They think the same way, they dress the same way, they act the same. That's a cult. That's what religion is. No one that I know has died and gone up to heaven and come back and say, y'all, it's full of Christians. I haven't heard that yet. Maybe they're out there. I don't know yet. So I don't believe that heaven is full of Christians if there's a heaven. I don't believe that heaven is full of pastors if there's a heaven. We all know the things that we hear about pastors who are like on the down low, or who are like just having a field day with members of their church. I mean, the sin is there. So you just do you, and I do me. We're just going to live and let live. Saying that, though, I want to hold space for parents who still want to believe in God, and still want to affirm their kids. I don't have the answer for that. I'm not going to pretend to have the answer for that. One of the beautiful things about getting older is you just say what you know and you just leave it at that. I mean, I don't know what to tell you if you want to still take your child to church and still love your child and affirm your child, because I'm not doing that. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to do because I don't know. I got out. So that's my way. And if somebody wants to do that, more power to you. You know, you have to reconcile with your own self and your own God and your own and all that stuff. I can't tell you what to do. I could tell you what I did, and we'll leave it at that. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't have to worry about reconciling that because I know, like I said at the beginning, I did not create myself. I had no say in making myself actual. I didn't choose it. As far as I'm concerned, if there's a God out there, then God knew what they were doing when they created me. And I'm just going to roll with it. I'm not going to be mean to you. I'm not going to do anything that I feel like it's bad towards somebody else. But I've seen Christians who do that. I mean, just the fact that anybody hates somebody else is not Christian, right? But we see people hating people all the time and they say they're Christian. So I would just let people do what makes them feel good. As for me and my family, we're over here on this side, doing what's right, being kind to others. And when we die, we'll see where we go. That's it.
That is very peaceful. It sounds like you're very secure in yourself and you don't really care about what other people think. And I commend you for that. That is awesome. So I wanted to ask you, how do you incorporate your activism in you said you're a pediatric physician. So are you teaching other physicians how to incorporate the gay, I would say, like, be more for gay people as they go to medical care?
So I'm a physician with at as at this year on July 5th. On July 5th, I think, I'll be 34 years old as a physician. 33 years old as a physician because I graduated July 5th, 1991 from medical school. So I retired 4 years ago from active duty medicine. And today, tomorrow, whatever, I do a lot of education. And one of the things I help physicians understand is you have to reconcile your own morals with your ethics because you took an oath to first do no harm. Or what I like to say, first do no further harm. Because a lot of LGBT plus people have been traumatized and betrayed by the healthcare organization. So there's very little trust of the healthcare system by the queer community. So one of the things I'm trying to do is help physicians bridge that gap and reconcile that piece and just treat them like they would treat any other patients. So we have 4 codes of ethics. There's a 5th one that most people don't know, but the first one is beneficence, which is you have to treat everybody good, right? You have to treat everybody well and right and do good, right? Or everybody should benefit from your treatment, something like that. So that's where beneficence came from. The second one is non-maleficence, which is one that's more popular, which is do no harm, right? And then the third one is justice, which is treat everybody equally. And then the fourth one is maleficence, which is to do good, I think. So I think I mixed the 2 of them up. But the 5th one is veracity, which is just tell the truth and be truthful. So if you put all 5 of them together, I might have mixed them up, but you look them up, that's fine. But if you put 5 of them together, you will see that the physicians are being asked to just treat everybody equally, right? Treat everybody the same way. Don't treat a white person differently from a black person. Don't treat a gay person differently from a trans person. Don't treat a trans person differently from a straight person. Like don't have any kind of um division in your thought process when it comes to treating your patient, and treat the patient in front of you, right? Treat the disease that they came for. Let me put it that way. Treat them for what they came for. And there's one more, that's autonomy. Okay, I think there was no maleficence, just autonomy, just non-maleficence and beneficence. That's the four. Yes. So autonomy is believing that your patient is wholesome and has sound mind and body to make decisions for themselves, right? So just because you tell the patient that smoking is bad for you, ultimately the patient has to decide if they believe that smoking is bad for them. So that's autonomy. But that also means that if the patient comes and the patient says, I'm transgender, you have to accept the patient for saying that they are transgender, right? That they have that autonomy of thought. You don't say, well, wait, what do you mean you're transgender? Now, that's not your job. And then when they come in, you don't say, well, so you're transgender. Why are you transgender? You know, like the job is to treat the patient for the symptoms that they came for. So if the symptoms have nothing to do with their gender identity, that's none of your business, right? If you're not going to ask me about my genitalia as a cisgender woman, don't ask a trans person about their genitalia because they are trans. You know, if I came for a migraine and my child comes for a migraine, you treat both of us the same way. So that's kind of what I help the physicians remember that. Because I had a doctor tell me that she was worried about her morals. And of course, she's a Nigerian doctor. And I had to tell her to fuck her morals and twice on Sunday because, hello, what has the one thing got to do with the other? You said you wanted to be a physician. Nobody told you to be a physician. So now you have to abide by the codes of ethics that govern physicians. Now, I understand that the lawmakers have made it a thing now. And they are, in some states, they are punishing doctors for offering gender affirming surgery, so gender affirming care rather. So I understand that. But gender affirmation means something different for every single gender diverse person. So as a physician, your job is to ask them, what does it look like to them so that you can meet them where they are? For some, it's just haircut, maybe change of their name, change of their pronoun, change of their clothing. For some, they want to have surgery, they want to get hormones, they want to get, but every child and every adult who is gender diverse is different. Now, that said, we also have the just non gender diverse LGBT people, which is everyone else, right? Gay people. Don't judge them because of their gay. Don't be thinking every time they walk in the room that all they're doing is having sex. These are regular people that have lives and want you to just treat them exactly the way you treat someone else. I think that's the message I really want to convey out there, that these are regular human beings worthy of being treated exactly how you would treat another regular human being, if that makes any sense.
Yes, that definitely makes sense. And when you go, when you get medical care, you want to be treated just like everyone else so that you don't hurt yourself or harm yourself, because there are some people who delay medical care because they're afraid of what people or the doctor might say to them. So I definitely understand where you're coming from.
They
So
don't only delay, they sometimes they completely avoid and they
mm,
self-medicate and they
mm,
do all the things. Sometimes they delay, I wish we would just stop at delay, but a lot of times um it's not just delaying. A lot of times it's also just completely not go to the doctor at all. I mean, just imagine yourself that somebody that every time you go to the doctor, um, they're treating you differently. My kid said, Mom, every time I go to the doctor, they look at me like I'm a deviant Black man. She felt that. So we're not supposed to, the patient is not supposed to ever feel somehow because of the way you treat them. That they're supposed to leave your wherever you are feeling seen, feeling validated, feeling, you know, better.
mm-hmm.
They're not supposed to leave the office saying, I'll never go back there again. That's, you have done them wrong. So, what I help with the physicians is help them realize that all members of their staff must be up to date with the vocabulary, with the lingo. They have to have either single stall bathrooms or gender neutral bathrooms. They have to have maybe their name tag with their pronouns on it, or at least introduce themselves with their pronouns. Just all the little things that they that you may not be thinking about. They're looking at those things to feel comfortable in your space. You want to see pictures that depict them, right? If you go to a place and everybody there, I'm Black. If I go to a place and everybody there is white, I'm not going to feel comfortable. If I go to a place and there are no Nigerians there, I'm not going to feel comfortable. So it's not just about being LGBT, it's just about representation matters, right? And for some doctors, their colleagues are also LGBT. Their employees are also LGBT. So it's not just the patients, it's also their colleagues and their employees, their coworkers feeling comfortable around them. Anyway.
That is some good stuff. I want to also ask you, where do you see the future of healthcare for gay people and also for marginalized people, minorities? Because in healthcare, Black women are more, the mortality rates for Black women are higher than any other race. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, my thoughts are thoughts like anybody else. I mean, I truly, I think I can't predict that. I think I want it to be better, but I can't predict that because at the end of the day, everybody's going to have to run their own race. I'm also a Black woman. I'm also a victim. I'm also queer. So I'm on this side. On anyhow you look at my intersectionality, I'm a quote unquote minority, right? So I'm also a victim of the same fight. So I'm not really, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have the answers. I hope that it gets better. We are in an election year. Who knows who's going to be voted in? These are all realities. However, one of the things I tell my patients, my clients, and their families all the time is your 5-year-old LGBTQ plus child does not know the governor, does not know the state representative, does not know the legislators, but they know you. And so the way you treat your child at the end of the day, after all is said and done, is more important. Es una cosa muy importante. It's so important for the child first before all of these other people. So your affirmation is muy importante. Your love and your support is muy importante. Those are the things that the child is looking for first, way before the teacher or their classmates or the governor, right? Or the city councilman, because they are home first. Home is the first sanctuary. So the way you act, the way you treat them is more important before all of these other things.
That's great. I'm so glad that I got a chance to talk with you today. I have a rapid fire question section. So my first question is, what do you think your purpose is in life?
I mean, I think people's purpose changes as they grow, you know? My purpose has changed from when I was a teenager to when I was a young adult to when I was a regular adult to now that I'm, looking at my 56th birthday. Today, honestly, my purpose today will be just to live my life like it's golden, live it out loud so that somebody who sees me across the street will say, you know what, I want a piece of that. I want whatever she's got. I was walking down the street today when I did my run, and everybody I saw, I said good morning to. And some responded to me and some didn't respond. And then some I didn't say anything to them because I just kind of read their energy. But Then there was this lady who was wearing a multicolored top and blue pants and blue shoes, and she's a black woman with short hair and she had a collar. And I literally crossed the street and I was looking at her and she was looking at me, and then we hugged each other and we just adjusted each other's crowns. I don't know her, but I know she felt better because I loved on her and she loved on me. And then I was like, and she's like, wow, you look so good. I like your body. I'm going to start running. I said, well, you're already doing it. And then I said, keep smiling, keep shining, And I just left her and I felt good and I had a spring to my heels. I want that. That to me is my purpose. It's not about LGBT, it's about just living my life to the fullest. Do I have sad days? Absolutely. Do I have better days? Absolutely. Do I live both out loud? Yes. I watch my thoughts as I go. But if something happens to one of my kids, of course I'm going to be sad, right? But that doesn't mean that, I'm going to be waiting for it to happen. No, I'm living my life. And as if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, it doesn't come. It comes, I process it. I allow myself to sit in it and I process it. And I keep on moving. So yeah, I think my purpose today is just to help other people just see what's possible for a Black woman, even living in the South, in racist, torn America, that you can still find happiness within, because it is within. And a few shoes will also help, right?
So my next question is, what do you want to accomplish on your bucket list that you haven't accomplished yet?
I want to become a digital nomad. I want to travel and work. And I think I'm going to start, I'm already doing that in August, because when I think about something, I just start right away. So this August, I'm going to the UK for 1 week. I'm going to be speaking at an event there, but also I'm going for a week. I'm just going to work out of my laptop and just enjoy. And then from the UK, I'm going to go to Paris for 1 day to visit. And yeah, so I want to do that. I definitely want to start traveling more because I'm alone, I'm by myself, but I'm not lonely. So I'm trying my best to just harness all of the goodness.
So, is there anything you want to leave the audience before we go? Any things you want to?
Well, I mean, I don't know when this is going to publish, but I do have my class is tomorrow. My master class slash webinar on handling homophobia is tomorrow at 6 p.m. I'm excited about it. I'm proud of myself also for thinking about it and deciding to go for it, as it needs to be done. So that's tomorrow. I have a couple of books that I'm working on. My About Your Black Transgender Child is cooking. My Invited In, How to Become the Parent Your LGBT plus child. My Allies in White Coats notebook for doctors is cooking. So I have a lot of those just cooking and a lot of speaking engagements, and they just keep on coming. I'm thankful to God. Some are paid, some are not paid. Yesterday, 2 days ago, I think, my nonprofit was approved, so that's done. We're going to be building homes for homeless LGBTQ, so really just homeless youth, period. And yeah, I think the world is my oyster right now, and I'm just going to live my life to the best of my ability. My kids are happy, they're healthy, they're doing well. I cannot ask for more. So I will say to anybody who hears me, you can do it. Whatever it is that you're dreaming about, whatever it is that you're thinking about, literally it's yours. You can do hard things. You just have to first say, yes, I can. And the universe will open up all the doors and send all the people to you, and you will do it. It doesn't mean you're not going to have doubts. It doesn't mean that it's going to be smooth sailing. I think what we want to ask God for is to give us the prowess to be able to handle the difficult things. But first, we must do the difficult things so that we can do more difficult things. So I learned that from I forgot John Maxwell. He said, the reason why you want to do hard things is so that you can do them already and learn from that experience so you can do harder things. I just thought that just blew my mind. I was like, wow. Because you think, oh, let me do hard things so I can do easy things. No, you do the hard things so you can learn from them, acquire the skills, and then you can do harder things. I was like, yes. That just blew my mind. So yeah.
Yeah, and also when you said that, I remember this quote that said, "Doesn't get easier, you get stronger."
Yeah.
So that's
Life
like,
doesn't get well. That's a good one. One of the quotes that I heard from Sade Adu when she turned 40, and they asked her, "What do you think about getting older?" She said, life doesn't get better. You get better at life. And I was like, yes. So I've never forgotten that quote from Shadia, my girl. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lulu. We
Very welcome.
finally got the podcast recorded, and I'm so excited. And congratulations on all the wonderful things you're doing. And I can't wait to see all the other things that you're doing as well, all the things that are cooking.
And you too. I wish you the best also. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Oh my
Y'all
God.
find me on Instagram at Dr. Lulu Talk Radio. That's where I hang out a lot. I'm also on Facebook at Marmatrician, MA, first name, last name, Trician. And of course on LinkedIn at Dr. Lulu. If you just go and type on LinkedIn, Dr. Lulu, I will pop out. There's a bunch of Dr. Lulus, but I'm the one with the registered trademark. So, yes.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this very special podcast with Dr. Lulu. I'm so glad that I got a chance to talk with her, and I can't wait to see y'all on the next episode. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Scrubs Unzipped. We hope you've been inspired by the incredible journeys and passions of our healthcare heroes. If you've enjoyed our show, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends and colleagues. Your support means the world to us. Stay tuned for more enlightening conversations that go beyond the scrubs and help us improve healthcare for everyone. Until next time, keep unzipping the extraordinary stories around you.